So again, this is another ship that I picked up at iCollectibles in Blackpool, and I hummed and hard over this one because I could have sworn that I already had it, but in fact I did not. But you'll see in a moment why I thought I had it. This is a Klingon D5 battle cruiser, and if I'm right, this did not actually show up in Enterprise, but it was designed for Enterprise. And when I was getting this from the shop, as I've mentioned on the previous video, oh god, they're really plasticky, these ones. I was expecting that to be quite heavy when I picked it up, but it's not. It's quite plasticky. I think maybe there's a little bit of metal up in the neck, but it's one of these unusual Eaglemoss models. To my mind, it just doesn't feel. Yeah, that's all plastic there. It's unusual for Eaglemoss to be quite so plasticky. Now, I did my trick in the store that I've mentioned before, where I got the stand out. Well, not out, but I got the box open from the back and just had a look through the plastic to see what the stand said on the underside of it. And as you can see, it says Klingon D5 Battle Cruiser. And I remembered that that wasn't a designation that is common. Because I think it's the... Oh God, I'm going to get this wrong now. D7s are more common than the Katingas. But a 5 is not a common one. And in fact, I think in one episode they were going to use this D5, but then they decided that they would actually reuse a Katinga instead because they had a decent CGI model of it, so they did that. So, as with, it's a very sort of typically Klingon-looking battle cruiser, but very much the Enterprise. And I've just broken a bit of it. Well, that's annoying. I'm doing it on camera as well. The moral of that story is don't rush these things at night. Yeah, I can fix that. I can glue that. But again, plastic, you see, and this model clearly does not lend itself to being manhandled, as I've just demonstrated. In fact, I mean, ironically, I can say exactly the same thing about the bird of prey. Fortunately, I've still got the other side as a reference point in terms of where it's supposed to fit, so that's okay. I'm just going to leave that alone now so I don't do any more damage to it, but demonstrates why plastics usage on these things is perilous, to say the least. Now, so that's your D5. Now, already in my collection, and in considerably better shape, is this. You see, this is what I was confusing it with. That's actually much more metallic. This is the Raptor, and you may remember that this was a ship type we'd not seen before from the Klingons in Enterprise. Making a bit of a pig's ear of this, apologies. Bear with me. There we go. So, the Raptor was a sort of... I don't want to say it was a bird of prey-esque, but it wasn't far off it because it was that sort of size. It was more a sort of scout ship. But you can see that when you look at those two alongside each other, you can be forgiven, or I hopefully can be forgiven, for thinking that they were very similar. I mean, I also thought this could be in the Augment's bird of prey, because it isn't, because it's not anywhere near a bird of prey shape. But the Raptor is really not far off. It was the nacelles that were sort of confusing me, because I could have sworn that I had one that had nacelles like that already. Of course I did, but ironically, I really thought in the box that this was actually significantly bigger. But the battle cruiser isn't actually that much longer. This is just a different angle, which is why it looks similar. But actually, if I were to do them alongside each other flat, I think we would find that the battle cruiser is quite a bit longer. I mean, it's a nice ship. I don't dislike it at all. I think it's rather a shame that they chose not to use it. But unfortunately, as an Eaglemoss model, as I've just so brilliantly demonstrated, these will have a tendency to snap off because putting the plastic with the metal and having the plastic that thin as well is just it's bound to go horribly wrong, isn't it? Let's face it. It'll still display fine somewhere if I can find space for it. But I just thought it'd be interesting to show them alongside each other, because you can see the Enterprise design style for the Klingon ships is quite markedly different from what we then see, even in the original series, because these sort of nacelles have gaps in them, which is just odd. And again, it'll be another point of weakness. I mean, looking at it, even the Raptor here has got these little sort of struts, and you'd never see that in the original series or the next gen. You know, Klingon ships are normally really, really solid. You don't normally get this sort of negative space along the necks. But even the coloration is interesting, because you know, you might argue that this looks more like a sort of Romulan kind of coloured ship, but this bit here reminds me of the bird of prey that the augments stole. So you can clearly see it was of its era, and so it should be, because it was designed for that era, and it's another new Klingon battlecruiser. So as I say, just a shame that to my knowledge it didn't end up on screen at any point. But nice to have one, even if I have just battle damaged it. But I suppose that makes it more Klingon, doesn't it? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So I'm afraid I have no further details on it, because these were literally just boxes. They were just box examples. So I can't tell you a great deal more about it, other than presumably it was a precursor to the D7s and so on. So yeah, just an instrument. Let me show you the underside. I'll try not to kill off any more pieces while I do it. But it's it's a nice looking ship. It's just a shame that it's not a little bit sturdier. There just doesn't feel like there's much of it when you've got it in your hand, which is a bit of a shame. But I mean, I know they're not large models, and some of them are more plastic than others. And the nose is definitely metal, and the nose has got some weight to it. But I would definitely advise caution when handling. Cheers for now.